There's an old joke that says there are two different kinds of people in the world. The kind of people who divide the world up into two different kinds and the kind that don't. I guess I'm kind of the former. There are two basic ways of understanding God, of regarding God, of thinking about God. The first is God as transcendent. God as large and in charge. God, the creator of the universe, of all that is seen and unseen. God who set the sun and the moon and the stars in their courses. This is the God of the omnis, omnipotent, all-powerful, omnipresent, everywhere, omniscient, all-knowing. This is the God we see throughout the scriptures. We see it in the writings of the prophets when they're given a vision of what the heavenly kingdom looks like. And they go into this like throne room, and there is God sitting on a throne, and he's surrounded by angels and archangels and cherubim and seraphim, and they're falling on their faces and they're singing, "Holy, holy, holy." This is the God who created this solar system and every solar system, this galaxy and every galaxy, and who fills every molecule of every part of the cosmos with his presence. God as transcendent. But that's not the only way of understanding God. There's the other way, which is God as immanent, close. This is the God who we say is in our hearts. This is the God of the bumper sticker. God is my co-pilot. This is the God who knows us, and sometimes, who cares what we have for breakfast in the morning, and is with us when we go to work. We also find this vision of God throughout the scriptures. It's the same God who comes down and walks with Adam and Eve in the garden. We see it in the prophets, where Jeremiah says that before we were formed in our mother's womb, God knew us. In Isaiah, our names are inscribed on the palm of God's hand. In the 13th chapter of Luke, God knows every hair on our heads. And it's not that there's one or the other. It's not like, okay, there's the transcendent God or the immanent God. It's sort of the wondrous thing is that God is both. The God who knows us, the God who knows every hair on our head, the God who has our name inscribed on the palm of his hand, is also the God who fills every molecule of the universe, who set the sun and the moon and the stars in their courses. That God is in your heart. The wondrous thing is that this God is both. In the gospel lesson for this weekend, it's probably one of the classic most beautiful visions of God as immanent, tender visions of God as immanent. It's Jesus telling the parable of the 99 sheep and the one sheep. Jesus is in a group of people, a group of righteous people who are scoffing and indignant that Jesus is hanging out and eating with sinners. The righteous people are always the fun ones to hang out with, of course. And so Jesus tells this parable to sort of refute them and says, which one of you, having 100 sheep, if you lost one, wouldn't go off and search until you found it? And when you found it, you would bring it back, set it on your shoulders, bring it back, and then throw a party and rejoice. There's this question is asked rhetorically. Which one of you wouldn't do this? And the rhetorical answer in Jesus' day, for anyone who knew sheep at all, the rhetorical answer was, no one does that. No one would do that. If you have 100 sheep, one goes off, and you leave your 99 sheep to go off and find the one sheep, when you found the one sheep and you brought it back, you would have exactly one sheep left. You never leave the 99. And it's kind of amazing that this shepherd in this parable would even notice that he's missed this sheep. I mean, if you think about it, if you have 100 of something and you lose one of them, do you even notice? Don't you have to count? If you have 100 $1 bills and one went missing, would you notice? Wouldn't you count and then you'd be like, okay, I gotta count again. Okay, I gotta count again. And then you'd be like, okay, I guess I'm missing a $1 bill. This shepherd recognizes that he's lost this sheep because it's not just one of 100. It's his beloved sheep. It's the sheep whose name is written on the palm of his hand. It's the sheep that he knows every hair on its head. It's the sheep that he knew since before it was formed in its mother's womb. And it's not just that, of course, that one sheep that's beloved. It's every one of those 100 sheep is beloved. Every one of those 100 sheep is known by the shepherd that well. And of course, the sheep that wanders off it's us. It's me. It's you. And this parable, this story, I mean, there are lots of places in the Bible where you read a story or you read a chapter or whatever, and you come away with homework, right? You come away like, okay, I got to start doing that, or I got to stop doing that, or I have to do a little bit more of this, or a little bit less of that, or I got to think about this totally new. This story, this parable doesn't come with homework, really. It's not like this was a really good sheep that after it had wandered off, recognized that oh gosh, I wandered off, and started its way back, and was a good sheep and made it back to the flock, and wow, he really earned it there. No. The sheep didn't do anything other than be loved by its shepherd. This parable doesn't give us any homework other than reflecting on the wonder of the grace and love of God. That when we are lost, when we stray, and that's not an if, because we all do, when we are lost, God, the creator of the universe, of all things seen and unseen, the one who set the sun and the moon and the star in its courses, the one who filled this whole earth with life that crawls on the ground and flies in the sky and swims in the deep, that God knows you and will leave the 99 until he finds you. And when you are found, that God throws a party because you are worth that much to God.